And here we go. Glory to God in the highest, and on earth, peace to people of goodwill. I have enjoyed movie montages in my life, but I'm also learning that they have not been helpful for moving forward with our careers and our goals. Hi, welcome to the Kevin Gregg Show. I am Kevin Gregg. Welcome to the show that is designed to help you um, reinvent, reinvigorate, refresh, reflect on your life, and repurpose yourself according to God's call for your life. Welcome to the show. Glad to be here. Holy smokes. This has been a morning. I just shared this in men's devotional group that I was with. It's been kind of a nonstop morning for me. It's been kind of going since 4:30 this morning, and it's almost like every single thing I'm doing, I feel like I'm just scrambling into it. Welcome to the show. If this is your first time here, please feel free during our live chat. If there's anything that comes up that you want to comment on, make a comment in the chat room and I will mention you as we're doing the video. Um, yeah, here's the thing. Uh, boy, oh boy, it's been kind of going. My last video, I talked about the fact that this was a pretty jam-packed week. Um, Actually, here's the coolest thing. This is my, it may not sound like a lot to some other people, but it is for me. Um, for uh, I just need to make sure all this stuff is running because I think it is. Whoa, hi, this is me talking right now. Um, yes, so I've been going. This is my fifth fifth broadcast recording this week, which has been a pretty cool thing. It's just been going. Um, yeah, today was one of those days where it just felt like I'm just trying to play catch up with a lot of stuff. Kind of hit the ground. I've got some deadlines I have to meet with some clients today. Duncan's still attending summer school for a little bit. He's towards the last stretch of his schooling with the LAUSD, so I kind of had to scramble, get him out the door, and then just preparing for a lot of things. Um, Yeah, and I think, there's just a couple of things, like, there's just these feelings at times of just, like, overwhelm that wants to come in. I had a day yesterday where it was like it was a pretty long day. I got to meet with some friends that I haven't seen for a while, but, they're down in Orange County, which means it's, an hour drive for me to get down there. Got to hang out with them for several hours, then come back. Then I had to do work. And I've been also in the middle of this food program this week, food program and exercising. So making sure that I hit all of those checkpoints because I did an accountability thing with a friend of mine uh, he's been amazing, right? I did this. I'll let you know what I did, which got Kate kind of mad. I did this thing where I said, here, listen, if you're married, check in with your spouses before you commit to certain things. Here's the commitment that I made for the week where I said, I'm going to hit this list of things I need to get done every day, which included like a certain step mount, steps that I was going to get in. Part of that was going to be running, making sure that I'm hitting a certain calorie count, making sure that I'm doing certain exercises. And then, I was going to be checking in and doing continual prayer and then sending him a list of what I do at the end of the day. And I told him because I wanted to hold myself accountable for this, right? I said, if I don't do this by the end of the day, I'll owe you $20 for that day. So he's like, okay. And the plan is that you don't pay the $20, which I haven't, thank God. But I told Kate that this was my plan. She said, "What? That's our money. What are you making? Don't make those commitments with our money." So she's right on point with that. But it's one of my driving factors this week. I didn't want to lose $20. If I hadn't done it the entire time, I would have lost $100 for the week. It would have been crazy. Um, anyway, I'm almost there. So I'm trying to keep all. Isn't it funny that when you're trying to do something, when you get your heart set on saying, this is it, this is the week that I'm going to make a change, like all of a sudden it just feels like one thing after another keeps coming. Um, I think that there were two things. I mentioned the movie montage thing at the top. Again, man, I think that this is I mean, I love the movie, or I've loved the movies. I love movies, and I've loved the movies. I get very iffy right now. There's not been too many contemporary movies that I've been very happy with over the last couple of years. I can't think of stuff that I just went, "Wow, that's awesome." I mean, there's been some fun movies that I've gone to. I'll tell you the last one. Kevin's off on tangents today. What's going on with him? I'll tell you what's going on with him. He's a little foggy today and trying to get through. Um, I remember one of the last big fun movies I saw in the movie theater a while back was Baby Driver. It was a pretty fun one. It was with Kevin Spacey. No, but it was directed by Edgar Wright, and it was just like a fun action crime movie. Just fun, you know? But in terms of a lot of contemporary movies, and even then, I mean, that movie had so much, violence and sex and all that stuff in it. So I put that out there with a little caveat. Oh, hey, let's gather the family together. Kevin said we should watch Baby Driver. No, watch it with your wife or girlfriend or friend, and realize that there's morally offensive content that's in it, but it's also an entertaining movie. Um, Anyway, I've loved movies, but here's the one thing. This is like a cliche and a trope that you see in modern movies, which is the montage. The montage, right? The montage is usually the characters come to a crisis, or they need to learn something, or they need to learn a skill, and then all of a sudden it cuts to a montage of them learning and gaining all these skills, right? And then they come out the other end of it, and then because they've gone through the entire training process, boom, they're on the other end, and they're an expert, right? You'll see this with uh, Karate Kid or Rocky or uh, what was coming to my mind? What is that Army of the Dead one? Army of Darkness, Bruce Campbell. They do the same thing there. Those training montages. Mr. Mom with Michael Keaton. Perfect example, right? A guy that's a stay at home dad. And I'm referencing a movie that I have not seen since 1984, since I was 11 years old or whatever, 11 or 12. But there's in that movie, here's a guy he's lost his job. He has to become like a stay-at-home mom while his wife Terry Garr goes out into the workforce. Upside down stereotypes in the 1980s. And he just, what happens? He just becomes like a fat slob who doesn't know what the heck he's doing in his life. And then they have like the montage thing where he has like, that change in his mind and his heart, and he starts like exercising, getting better, and you see the montage, and then it comes out the other side of it, and yes, he wins the day. Well, montages are great, right? Because we see the transformation that happens with the character. Here's where montages fall short, right? Because they have to be like put together in these nice, tight, concise packages, right? Otherwise, they're not going to be entertaining to watch. But what can't they do in a movie? They can't show you the amount of time or the true energy or the effort or the failures or all that other stuff that happens. So us as late 20th century, early 21st century North Americans, particularly, or those in the West, we just kind of think like it'll happen like that. I'll open books. I'll open books, and suddenly I will know. I will know. I'll start a podcast, and before you know it, I'll get 100,000 viewers, right? It's like, no, man, it just like, it takes time, and you have to show up. And anyway, that's the thing, is that they never show you, right? Like the real dirty, I got to roll up the sleeves and really dive in and do this. They never show that, do they? Because if they did, it wouldn't be a very entertaining movie. It'd take too long. It'd take too long. So anyway, I say all that to just think I'm in the middle of a real life. I'm in the middle of a real life montage moment. Okay. I'm playing out a montage moment in real time. And that real time thing is showing up in the moment, remembering to invite God into it. What was this thing, man? Literally reading this from our devotional today. And I'm remembering Jillian Abney Philippians 4, verses 6 through 8. I've got to get that memorized. We're going to make that happen, because we were talking the other day about making sure that you memorize your Bible verses. I was reading this morning from the Jesus Always devotional by Sarah Young, same woman that wrote Jesus Calling. This is something to me. This is her. This is, as you look to me, God, more and more I become your joyful focus. When you look at the world, many disturbing things call out to your attention. If you concentrate too much on these things, you will become deeply discouraged. Meanwhile, the one who is continually with you calls out, I am here. Look to me, beloved, and find joy in me. I think I wanted to read that because I have to remember to find joy with God, and find joy with God in the moment, in the present. Because if I don't do that and I don't invite him in, I start to spin. And I start getting feelings of like being overwhelmed and not knowing what to do, and just like going, you know, and you get angry and resentful. And listen, I'm going to be completely transparent here. Um, I'm not getting sleep. I'm not getting the sleep that I need, honestly. And I think that I just have to be, I'm just going to do this again. Here's the real time, real life montage. Um, I've got to learn to slow down and do that specific discernment. I'm getting it a little bit on my Saturdays with Sabbath, but I've got to figure this out in the day to day, in the weekly stuff, because it ain't working, right? Like, I get it, like we go through seasons of this, but there's something that's been going on, particularly in the last 15, 20 years. I mean, I remember seeing so much of this. I saw a little bit of this when I was a kid, but then as I got older, you would see it, man. The families that would, like, the minute it got to the weekend and it was like, oh, well, we got to go to soccer practice and baseball and all this other stuff. And the kids are running all over the place and parents running all over the place. Parents basically in the United States, like what happened to weekends here in the United States was, instead of having, a Sunday that was dedicated to church, weekends now became dedicated to, recreation and sports and activities. Like, that's what the entire weekend was. And nobody's slowing down and taking reflection. Doug, let me see what you said. Think of verse memorization like script memorization. Yes, you don't just memorize the words, but you embed the context with the words. That's a really good thing, Doug. I'm going to say that one more time because it's so good. Think of verse memorization like script memorization. You don't just memorize the words, you embed the context with the words. Boy, that's a great tip, man. Because it's not just about I had people that would do different script memorization techniques. I knew one guy, he would write out the first letter from every word. So we'd have an entire page that was just filled with, uh, TASF, it was all this stuff, but each letter represented the word. But you're so right. Like, especially whenever I would do script memorization, what's something that would help me was, yes, if I had the words, but then I would do like improvised singing. Can I improvise sing and still use the words? And if I couldn't do that, then I didn't have it on my heart. But to your larger point, Doug, which is to really put the uh, the heart of what that is, especially when it comes to that Philippians 4, 6 through 8 for me, because a lot of that is about like not worrying in the moment and really, turning my cares over to God. So thanks, buddy, for that. Um, but here's this whole thing I want to come back to for a second, which is like, here we have a society which basically idolized, it's like they literally idolized activity, sports, and recreation over reflection and refreshment with God. And I can understand where part of that comes from. Part of it comes, let's, get real here. There's a lot of people that were not raised in great church environments. Okay. There were people that were raised in, uh, church environments where you either had a pastor or minister who was just incredibly dull. Not that that's the point, that they're supposed to be, hey, right? Like mega churchy. I can understand why there's been such an appeal with mega churches over the last decade, because there's also like the actual connection, making stuff come alive, or the music or the worship. Totally get that. But you also had decades of people that would go in and it just felt like church was just like this stuffy, you know, I can't wait to get out of here. This guy is droning on. Why are we doing this? And I think really, like, especially in the 80s and 90s and going into the 2000s, you had any kids that were exposed to an environment like that, whether they came from, whether there was just not a good example that was shown to them in church or with ministers or even with their own families. And once they became adults, they went, that's not going to happen for me. That's not going to happen for me. And that's not going to happen for my kids. And so what ended up happening on the other side? Now, instead of, taking the time to actually do a Sabbath where you don't do things or stores are closed or everybody actually just like stops, right? Instead, it becomes like, what are we doing? What are we doing? What's next? Right. Like there's this continual, it's like being on a hamster wheel and you can't do it. Like you're eventually gonna collapse. You're gonna collapse of like an exhaustion or a harriedness because you're also not gonna get your refreshment and your fulfillment there, are you? Right? Like that stuff can really be a drug when and believe me, I am saying all of this to myself. It's literally like I'm putting this down on video and doing this live so that I have this as a reference point for myself. When we're chasing those things or those activities or that stuff to do, if I do that and accomplish that, if God's not in the middle of this, man, if God's not in the middle of this, we're spinning, and it's never going to be enough. It's going to be like a drug, right? We're chasing that excitement or whatever that thing is, and eventually that excitement wears off. And then it's going to be something bigger or something more. And we can't take it. Like our bodies will literally collapse or our minds will collapse or whatever. So anyway, I think that there's a balance between that. And then there's also the balance between sometimes you go through seasons where you do have to get through challenging stuff. Listen, man, I'm grateful. My dad used to take me, my dad taught CCD classes. That's Catholic confraternity. How do you say it? Oh boy, I really did it today, didn't I? Catholic Confraternity of Doctrine, Catholic Doctrine, something like that. CCD classes. Um, Sorry, I'm a little foggy today, but these were basically religious classes that were instruction in faith and also instructions based on the teachings of the Catholic Church. So my dad taught this to, he was the head of the elementary and junior high programs. And we used to have to go like every Saturday. I did that for like 12 years or something like that. But I'd show up on a regular basis. And boy, there were so many Saturdays I didn't want to go. And I am so grateful for those Saturdays, man. Those Saturdays basically served as foundational stuff for myself in my life. So sometimes there's things that we're called to do that we don't want to do, but they are necessary. But I think that there's a little bit of a discernment between figuring out like, okay, is this necessary for me to grow with God, or is this something that I'm using as distraction? And am I also overwhelming myself and overloading my schedule without thinking? Doug Riggle with the win. Confraternity of Christian Doctrine. Yeah, and sometimes it's also Catholic doctrine for us as well too. Confraternity of Christian Doctrine, right? CCD. Um, Amazing. Catholic, by the way, is also a word that means universal. Just for you, cat. Oh boy, Doug, I'm putting you on the spot. Does it come from the Greek? Catholic, Catholis. Oh boy, you think I should have this stuff available and ready? Who knows? Maybe Doug will find it in the comments. I don't know. Anyway, I want to tell you this. Thank you so much for showing up and listening to me ramble. Um, what is a great way that you can help the show? As a matter of fact, as I'm talking about discernment and learning parameters that you can decide for a show, you know that I've got a bonus series that I'm doing right now that's on locals.com. If you go over to kevingregg.locals.com, I've got the first video. Let's see what you said there. Okay, no worries, buddy. Doug didn't have it. Listen, I don't expect you to be like my Google guy on the video. I get it. Sorry, kevingregg.locals.com. Head on over there. It's a great way to support the show. If you go over there right now, the first video that I have in a series that's called parameters for working on a project is up and available for free. You don't have to pay anything to join Locals. If you join the kevingregg.locals.com community, you can be part of this social network where you can meet other people that follow the show and share ideas and post and just get to know each other, which will be a great thing. In order to go deeper into it, you can become a supporter, and that's a great way to help support this show and to help alleviate some of the server costs that we have. So please join us over at kevingregg.locals.com. It's a great way to support the show. That's all I've got for today. Grateful for you guys. Love you. So glad that you're here. Next week, we it may only be one live stream. I'm not sure which, but I do have a couple of guests that are coming back. Matisse Matisse Yolochin, who you met a couple of weeks ago, he'll be visiting next week. That video will be out on Friday, and I think we're ready for another visit from Patrick Quinn, which I think is coming up, but I got to check with him. And then I've also got to check in with Amanda Lang to see how she's doing, because I know she's got to come back on the show and give us an update with what's going on with her. So regardless, grateful that you're here. If you like this video, please like, share it, subscribe, let other people know about this show, whatever way you can, so they can come on over here and help boost the count on YouTube. It really helps. All right, guys, God bless all of you, and I hope that you have a wonderful weekend. We will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.